candidate is going to have 4.5 minutes. So Ms. Anna Slotky Reitano, please begin. Your time will begin now.
So I have experience with the collaborative courts. I actually just got a client into women's reentry, as well as drug court. I worked in the drug court and juvenile court at Eastlake Juvenile. My favorite option, however, is diversion. In the collaborative courts, the way it works is you plead, so you admit the charge, but you get sent to a court that keeps tabs on you a little bit closer. So you keep checking in with the court and they monitor your progress, make sure you're being held accountable, that you're sticking with the program, but you have a charge. The difference between the collaborative courts and diversion is quite simply that the opportunity, you have an opportunity to never get convicted when you're diverted. So that means if the defendant complies with treatment and doesn't reoffend, instead of having to plead or go to trial, it just gets completely dismissed. So they don't have anything on their record. This means that they don't have issues, regarding employment, school financial aid, which actually is a problem, and other issues or barriers that come up when one is convicted of a felony or facing felony charges. Diversion is what it sounds like. So instead of admitting a charge, what happens is you have, as a defense attorney, I would have to write a motion saying that the defendant has a mental health related issue that led to the offense, that it caused the offense, and that there are treatments available that the defendant would benefit from, and that he'd be amenable to treatment. So usually a lot of work goes into just getting that motion written. What the defense attorney has to do is you have to appoint a psychologist to evaluate the client. I mean, you have to know that there's a mental health issue to begin with. And then, that takes time. Then the psychologist gives me the report recommending a certain kind of treatment. Then I have to find the program that will make that treatment work for the client. So for example, I had a client who was recently diagnosed as bipolar, and he picked up a case when he was having a manic episode. The doctor recommended that he regularly see a psychiatrist for medication, a therapist to deal with, he was a victim in a crime, so to deal with the trauma from that. And there was a theory that that's what triggered the manic episode. So I had to find the therapist, and it's hard to find one that's low cost or free. So I ended up having to get a social worker to help my client get the right paperwork together to get insurance to cover the costs through the state. I got him appointments, letters from the doctor, and I ended up having to show the judge that we met all these things. So the judge felt confident in granting the diversion. The reality is most felonies are not serious. A lot of them are pretty low level. And what I've been seeing a lot is mental health. Most of my clients are mentally ill, and I think that needs attention. So, I had one client with a history of schizophrenia. He's young, maybe almost 30, but back when he had his first episode in his early 20s, he wandered into a garage because a voice told him he needed to be there. He was found in the garage, arrested for burglary, and then he ended up pleading to a strike to get out of custody right away, right? So now he's got a strike on his record, and several years later, he picks up a case that was a result of a psychotic episode. He has to go to jail. However, mental health diversion is going to allow him to get the treatment that he needs to get back on track, not go to prison, and then get released without any, options, programs, or help. And ultimately, he's going to be able to succeed rather than fail because of, 2 incidents that resulted from his mental health problems. Sorry, I didn't see the timer, so can you, I can't hear you.
Sorry, you have about 10 seconds.
Oh, sorry, I kind of just wasted it. But ultimately, I do think that diversion is a really useful tool if we want to help people get back on track and not not have them continue through this revolving door of prison and then just releasing them with nothing. Like, we can help people and prevent future crime through that using diversion.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we're just working out the bugs here. I hope you have patience with me. And now we are going to move on to Sharon Ransom.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I am a deputy district attorney and I'm assigned to the mental health psychiatric unit. I handle 50 to 60 cases a day regarding competence, whether a person is competent to stand trial, whether they get mental health diversion, as well as others. I've previously been in or had people that went to veterans court and drug court. I staffed a drug court a long time ago. And I had a case where a guy was referred to veterans court. He attempted to strangle his mother because he thought she owed him $2 million and she only gave him $100. Just before the preliminary hearing, the mother came to me and expressed concerns about her son's mental health. And this was not known to us. So what usually happens is we don't talk to the defendants. The defense attorneys, the public defenders talk to the defendants. We can't talk to them. So if we find out about their mental illness or whatever problem they're having, it has to be brought to us by the defense attorneys. In this case, the mother brought it to our attention, and I worked with the defense attorney to get him into a program. The problem was he was Korean speaking. Although he had been a veteran, he chose not to use his English to do the program. So ultimately, we were able to find him a program through the Veterans Court, and it was successful. He needed medication. His mother did not want to come to us and tell us this, but it's good she did. So in mental health, we do have diversion, and there has to be a certain criteria that has to be met. One, the person has to suffer from a mental disorder. The mental disorder has to be a significant factor in them committing their offense. The symptoms have to respond to mental health treatment, and the person has to consent to going through the diversion program. And finally, there must not be a risk to public safety. So we're balancing all of those issues to make sure that people that do suffer from mental illness are able to be diverted. And I've seen some successes and I've seen some failures. One of the things is a person has to be willing to go through it. We can put them, so if they're sentenced or they need to be put in a state hospital, there's a 6 to 8 month wait list to go into a state hospital. But we have programs in the community where they can go to a treatment program, get their treatment. And we had a guy last week that was just so excited because this was the first time in 20 years that he had a bed and a shower. And he went along with the program. We have people that leave the program because they don't want to do it. And I think that when a person is really willing to do it, it works for them. Victims, in my cases, when I have a victim that's been a victim of a crime, I reach out to them and I let them know. And a lot of times the victims know, just based on the facts of the crime, that this person has some mental health issue. And I explain to them what's going to happen and that this person needs the help. And normally they go along with it. And a lot of times the victims are family members because that is who a mentally ill person usually is around most of the time. So it works out in that instance. Some of the drawbacks are, some people say they get access to more drugs in the programs than they do on the street, more access to alcohol. So those programs need to really be monitored. And so the people can have success at diversion or collaborative court efforts. Mental health, it is a collaborative court effort. We work every day with defense attorneys, DAs, doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, the judge, social workers, court staff to make sure that these collaborative efforts are successful. We work together as a team, and we can't not put someone in prison that is mentally ill. So we work at trying to get them treatment and trying to get them better. And I think it's really one of the greatest programs. Thank you. I think it's one of the greatest programs because we are helping and we are treating the illnesses of a person and making sure that they are better to be in society and make a better society. And I thank you for your time and for listening.
There we go. Okay, thank you very much. Holly Hancock, please.
Thank you. My experience with diversion and collaborative courts is ongoing, but as a trial attorney, and that was for 14 years, I often sought to, and I can handle all kinds of cases and they don't all go to trial. It just means that you can work up your case to trial. So I have handled mental health diversion cases. I've handled cases that were, for many years, diversion was not an option. So my opinion about this is that this is going to be the future. The courts are going to create more courts that deal with the mental health issues. Los Angeles County has the largest mental health facility housed within the jail system, you know, in our county and in the state. So, and I may venture to say the country, because it's very large. The people who are being assisted there, really, who are being held there, really need to be in some kind of mental health program. As one of the other candidates stated, sometimes they're not competent, so we can't proceed forward. But where they are held is in jail, and during that time they may not be getting any assistance, and so there's a problem here, a gap in time, a lack of resources, and one of the drawbacks, the biggest drawback, is a lack of funding for any of these programs. I am currently the deputy in charge of the homeless mobile unit, and it's the collaborative court that is for those who are unhoused. Many of those unhoused people are mentally ill. It is a diversionary court. There are only 2 right now in the county, one in Redondo Beach for Torrance and one in Long Beach here. And it works really well when we do get the money to do it, because you have different services that come to the court, and we do expungements. So my unit does the expungements for the other cases, so that the client can get into housing when they are done with whatever the cases they're done. They see, you know, counselors, they take their medication, they get sometimes job training, etc., so that they can move forward and get into housing and be independent. And I think that is a huge benefit, that if you can create something with wraparound services. Currently, my office and my unit and me, I'm trying to get a homeless court set up downtown, because it's really needed down there as well. But again, we had the money issues. This is something that the Judicial Council must agree to. And so that is something that judges can work toward having more of. I think we're going to have more of them. We're not just going to have homeless and veterans. I've also worked in drug court. That was a post-plea court. I have a problem with that, because it still leaves the conviction on the record, and then they have to come to me or somebody, or a unit like mine, to get it expunged, but they will not do prison. However, drug court in Los Angeles County, you start in a unit that's within the jail. So there's an actual jail unit that starts the process of, you know, Narcotics Anonymous, etc. And they detox there. So it's still a problem, because they're still in jail, and that's kind of like the problem that I have. Yes, the problem that I have with balancing defendants' rights versus perhaps the community's rights. I think we do want the community to be safe, and these courts assist the community in being safe, because we get to the root cause. Again, the defense attorneys the public defenders have to identify the problem, and we have to bring it forward. And I think it's the wave of the future, and it will be happening. We just got to get the money.
Okay. Thank you very much. And we are moving to, I believe Randall Fudge is next. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. As I indicated before, I run the day-to-day operations in the third largest prosecuting agency in Los Angeles County. We are also a nationwide leader in diversion and offering defendants alternate sentencing, including drug and mental health treatment, housing, and job assistance in lieu of prosecution and/or jail time or fines. I've implemented multiple programs in my office to assist youthful offenders and persons suffering from homelessness, substance abuse, and mental illness. Our PATH program, for example, targets young adults 18 to 24 years old, and research has shown that these people whose brain are still growing and that these people often make poor decisions. In appropriate cases, youthful offenders accused of misdemeanors are offered the choice of completing occupational training, mentoring, or educational programs where, for example, they obtain one-on-one counseling for job skills and how to make a resume in lieu of criminal prosecution. Many people who have participated in this program went on to obtain additional education, internships, and even employment in lieu of criminal prosecution. We've also instituted a priority diversion access diversion program, which allows people suffering from mental illness and substance abuse to obtain treatment in lieu of criminal prosecution. We work with LACADA, that's the Los Angeles Centers for Alcohol and Drug Abuse, and we were able to provide live-in treatment for misdemeanor defendants whose minor crimes are primarily the result of mental health or substance abuse issues. Through collaboration with the court, defendants with mental health or substance abuse issues have been able to obtain this live-in treatment instead of jail time, and we have social workers in the courthouse who are able to facilitate their transfer from the jail to the live-in treatment program. In fact, I think we may be one of the only prosecuting agencies that have a full-time social worker on our staff. We've also instituted a community service worker program, which allows people who are convicted of crimes to perform community service in lieu of jail time. Similar to Caltrans, this allows people who've committed crimes in Long Beach to do community service in Long Beach in the parks, wetlands, in addition, and this benefits the city. And they also receive informative lectures and they learn something about nature and the importance of preserving these areas. Our office has also instituted a homeless court program, which assists people experiencing homelessness to take care of outstanding criminal cases and help people with such services such as housing, disability benefits, mental health, and substance abuse counseling. Los Angeles County Supervisor Janice Hahn is a great supporter of this program and has helped us to obtain funding. The benefits of these diversion programs is significant. Currently, due to jail overcrowding, defendants in Los Angeles County who are sentenced to 100 days or less are immediately released from custody and receive no jail time. Not only is jail a minimal deterrence, but it does not solve the root cause. Our diversion programs, which seek to address crimes caused by youthful indiscretion, homelessness, substance abuse, and mental illness, have proven to be very successful and are being adopted by other agencies. Justice requires a balancing of the victim's rights and the defendant's rights. A system that does not seek to address the cause of crime and provides no consequences for violations of crime helps neither the victim nor the defendant. Our diversion programs seek to help address the cause, be it education, mental illness, substance abuse, as well as provide a consequence in the form of additional prosecution and incarceration.
30 seconds.
When properly administered, diversion is a win-win for both the defendant and the victim. And when properly administered, diversion can help all parties involved and can be a great tool.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ms. Georgia Huerta, please.
Yes, hopefully everyone can hear me. When I was working with the district attorney office between 2018 and 2021, when I left last year, I was working in the community collaborative court. And at that time, there were 4 community collaborative courts within the LA County area. Now there are different other courts homeless courts, different other types of courts that have sprung up after that. but I'm going to talk about the Community Collaborative Court, also known as the Alternative Sentencing Court, because they're still here and working in full force. First of all, I would like to say that when you balance the rights of the victim and the rights of the defendant in these particular cases, I think both sides is a win-win. The majority of the time, the victim is a family member, and a family member wants their family member to get help and to get aid. So they're not in opposition to it. If the victim is not a family member, then we have other types of actions that we can take to keep the victim and the defendants apart, such as a restraining order or a stay away order or a protective order. So that's in balancing the rights of the victim and the defendant. Secondly, whether or not these particular programs or this particular program is a benefit or a drawback. After working in that unit for over 3 years, it's definitely a benefit. The purpose of the program is to stop the revolving door of homeless people, people suffering from substance abuse, mental illness, veterans, at-risk youth, and sex trafficked individuals. They really have no place in the criminal justice system. So this program is designed to address their needs, the root cause of the problem, to get them completely out of the system. Sometimes it's looked upon, well, it's as social working, but it really isn't social working. It's helping those people that really needs to be helped and to get them out of the criminal justice system where they do not need to be in the first place. Also, in our community collaborative court, when an individual successfully completes the program, their case, even though they have to plead to get into the program, their case is dismissed under Penal Code Section 1203.4. And also their record is expunged. Any benefits that the defendant receives in our program, they do not have to pay for them, and those benefits are given to them. The biggest plus of the community collaborative court is accountability. And when I say accountability, not only accountability for the defendant to do what is required of him or her to be in the program, but also the programs that are offering the services, they are accountable to make sure that the defendant receives those services. All too often, defendants are just given medication and just left to figure it out on their own. Well, that's not the purpose of the community collaborative court. Once every month, they would come into court. They would tell the judge how well they were doing. If there was a problem with them getting their medication or with the program, then a representative from the program was required to come into court and explain to the judge why that particular defendant was not having their needs met as ordered by the court. And it's amazing that when people are held accountable, they actually do what it is that they are ordered to do and what they say they would do. And that's exactly how this particular program worked. Yes, it required the defendant to come to court, but I believe once a month, but I believe that that gave the defendant a basis to know that someone was concerned about them, that they were getting the housing that they needed, that they were getting the medication that they needed. And if they were not getting those things, then there was a judge there to make sure that they did. So I believe as well that the community collaborative court and these diversion courts is the way of the future for nonviolent, non-serious defendants. There needs to be an alternative other than jail. Treatment and rehabilitation as to those types of crime is a must. That's the only way we're going to get rid of overpopulation of our jails, putting people in jail that really should not be in jail. So I think it's an awesome program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And Patick Hare, please.
Thank you so much. I want to start with 2 observations and then share a story if there's time. First off, in the over 30 years that I've practiced law, civil and criminal, ranging from conservatorship court, dependency court, as well as a criminal court, I have been struck by the overwhelming number of individuals in the system who have been affected by the traumas of homelessness, of substance abuse, of mental illness. It really is astounding. And for too long, we've had a punitive model punishment over treatment, and people have been placed into the county jails, the prison system, where there is not adequate treatment, and they are released at the end of it further traumatized by their experience without the needed treatment and training for them to function successfully when they are released. They don't have the stability, they don't have the job, they haven't made the sorts of decisions that one makes in the treatment process to make the changes that we need them to make in order to function well in society when they are released. The second observation I want to make is that for too long in this country, the judicial system has been running on the narrative of the adversarial model, which for so many of these cases is not an effective way to approach them. In the adversarial model, we have winners and we have losers. If a defendant goes to trial and is found with defendant with mental health or substance abuse issues, homelessness issue, goes to trial and is acquitted, they're back out on the street with no changes. If they are convicted, they're often sent to prison, where, as I mentioned, they don't get the treatment. Occasionally, you'll have a judge that's willing to give them a chance, places them on probation, but if they slip up and fall, and if you've ever been in recovery or know people that are active in recovery, you realize that relapse is part of recovery. But so few judges understand that. They feel that they gave the person an opportunity, they failed, and they're sent off to prison. And so there's been a new model lately, moving away from the adversarial process, win-lose, to the collaborative process, win-win, which I believe is a much more promising way forward to deal with the issues of crime in our community in a way that truly leads to community safety. I've worked extensively in my career in the collaborative courts. I worked with the HALO program with the city attorney's office, homeless alternatives to living on the street. I've worked with the women's reentry program, the veterans court, and in felonies, I've worked with the Office of Diversion and Reentry, as well as the rapid diversion program. And I can tell you, based on my experience, there's a very, very high success rate, much higher than the quote unquote success rate of people coming out of prison. And one story to illustrate that point. Several years ago, I received a case on my desk of a young woman with no prior criminal record who was charged with a serious felony, residential burglary, breaking in to someone's home with the intent to steal. She had been wandering around. She climbed through the window into a condominium complex, and instead of engaging the sort of behaviors you would expect a burglar to engage in, she didn't take the jewelry, she didn't take the computer, she helped herself to a sandwich and a soda in the kitchen and sat down on the couch. And when the neighbors notified the owner, he came home and there she was eating a sandwich. Well, because she had technically stolen something while she was in the house, the filing deputy of the district attorney, who didn't have enough information, filed her with a serious felony. But I was able to get her mental health records, and collaborating with the court and the district attorney, we were able to get her into mental health diversion, and her case was dismissed. So I'm a testimony to the fact that everyone working together, DAs, courts, mental health, can truly have success stories and create true community safety.
Thank you very much. Right on schedule. Let's see. I don't see any questions from the chat. I'm not sure that we actually got any questions for you. We have less than 1 minute to go. I think, Anna, I think I shorted you by about 20 seconds. Do you have any final comments you want to make?
Well, I just wanted to say that, you know, the problems that I've been seeing with diversion is that there's a lot of judges who don't agree with it. And judges have the discretion to grant mental health diversion. It doesn't have to be something that the DA agrees with. But what I've been seeing is that when, you know, when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. And I think when you spent your career putting people away for the max amount of time, I think that it's hard to unlearn that and get off that foundation and go along with a program that doesn't involve prison. So I've been seeing a lot of resistance to that on the bench, and I'm glad that the other candidates are open to it, but it's important to get more judges on the bench that are willing to, use diversion.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your comments. This was a fabulous session, and we are going now to go back to the main room.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone was able to get a lot out of tonight's program. And on behalf of the Junior League of Long Beach and the League of Women Voters, we'd like to thank you for attending tonight's forum and learning more about the judicial candidates. We will follow up with all of the attendees via email with the linked videos of tonight's forum when they are posted and made available to the public. Please feel free to share with your friends, family, and professional networks. I'd also like to give a special thanks to all of our judicial candidates tonight for joining, and I hope you found this to be fruitful. I know there's not a lot of these types of forums for judicial candidates, and so we're very excited that you were all able to join us. Please follow us on social media. You can visit jllb.org to learn more about the Junior League of Long Beach and lwv.org to learn more about the League of Women Voters. And again, thank you all so much for attending. We hope you have a wonderful evening.